Hello and welcome. Campbell here, back with Guy for part 3 of our deep dive into clones, doppelgangers and celebs and things like that last video. We thought we'd talk about what's actually going on, like what we know is happening. What are they cloning right now? What tech do they have? So we'll get into that. So how you going, Guy?
I'm good, thank you, Campbell. How are you?
Good, man. Good to have you back again.
Yeah, it's great to be back. We're on a bit of a roll here. People seem to be really engaging with what we're talking about. It's resonating, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a good question, right? It's 2025 and it's one of the things. I don't think there's lots of content on this, on what's going on with all the clones out there. So I think people are enjoying it. So let us know in the comments, guys. I am enjoying it. Keep going. All right. So what have they got at the moment? Where do we want to start? Do you want to have a look at Clonaid, maybe?
Yeah, Clonaid's a good one to look at.
Clones are real. And this is Clonaid, COLONAID.com, pioneers in human cloning. So this is real. They've got services here, history. Clonaid is the world's leading provider of reproductive human cloning services. Eve,
Mm.
the first cloned
Eve.
baby, was born on December 26, 2002. Thanks to our team of highly skilled scientists, since then we've been able to help a number of patients have their own children through our cloning technology. And of course, this is always put up as something to help us, right? All these things are always done out to help us. So it's like, if you're sterile and you can't have a baby, if you've lost a baby, if you're homosexual and deeply desire a baby, okay. What if you're HIV? Okay, so basically they're there to help, right? If there's some reason you can't have a baby of your own,
The,
then you can clone it.
the third statement there under can Clonaid can help you is worth reading. If you've just lost or are about to lose a beloved family member and would like to see an identical twin of that person begin a new life.
Wow.
I
I mean,
mean,
it's I don't know, it's a bit morbid, isn't it? Like
yeah.
should we not let people die, the way that they're supposed to? I mean, it's almost like, these people that get obsessed and, they end up living with dead bodies in their house and stuff, right? They're like it's like because they can't let go of someone. It's like, and what would the clone be like? Would it have the same personality even? Like, I don't, do you know?
Yeah, I think about that quite a bit, and if we are, I guess, a product of our environment, so our upbringing and the events that happen, whether it's good things or bad things, we experience different levels of trauma, then our personality is going to be probably more likely to be shaped by what we experience as we grow up and the people that are in our lives, the more dominant figures in our lives, our parents really are going to determine how we talk, how we think, what we like, what we don't like. I grew up never really, this is a bit of a strange one, but I grew up never eating curry. I'd never had a curry until I met my wife because she's half Indian.
Yeah, I
So
thought
I
curries
assumed
were
I,
big in England. Wow, okay.
yeah, they are. I mean, a lot more now than it was, but now we got that. There's half a dozen takeaways in every town. But back then, when I was growing up in the 70s, it wasn't something that you came across that often. Not for me anyway. It wasn't on my radar. And I realized that actually, when I met my wife and was pushed into eating this, she dragged me to an Indian restaurant, made me have a curry, and now it's my favorite food. So, my upbringing steered me to like certain things and assume I didn't like other
Mm.
things. And so, with a clone, if you took two identical clones and one grew up in your house and one grew up in mine, they might
Yeah.
look the same, but surely then their personality and everything is going to be completely different. It would just be an identical twin, wouldn't it, with its own
Mm.
thoughts and likes and dislikes.
yeah. Well, it'd be more like a doppelganger, right? Because I
Yes.
mean, identical twins and just twins grow up in the same house. They're always with each other, and even they have different personalities, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting. They're saying, like make a clone, like make a double, like a twin of this person. But I'm thinking that person's then got to grow, right? Because
Mm.
I'm assuming that clones grow same rate as normal humans, right? So there's a
Yeah, well, I've read two different things on that. I've read that they can make a fully grown human in literally in months, and then in other places I've read that actually it takes the same amount of
amount of
time. But
time.
Donald Marshall's written quite a bit about this, and he said that there are four types of clone. They actually call it type one, type two, and then there's a regenerative clone and a replica clone, and they're all grown in a slightly different way and actually created in a slightly different way. But it's something I'm researching right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
obviously, if it was a baby, then it wouldn't matter. But in that line in Clonaid, it's like if your parents are getting old, right, or if someone's about to die, like we're
Yeah.
talking about adults. Like,
Yes.
so that's the weird thing because you'd end up with a baby, right? Does that mean people are going to start raising their parents like as well?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right, that would
Yeah.
be weird. But
So I'm sort of leaning more towards it being a fully grown.
yeah, I've definitely heard that, and I'm sure that that's true, right? But not that we would get access to it, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know that they cloned Dolly the sheep. I've read it. I think it was 96. I read today.
Yeah. It was 96. Yeah.
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 So
And
that's
she had a
already.
sister. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And she's had babies. So
Yes, she did.
that
Yeah.
was 30 years ago. But by the time they did that, I'm sure that most of us know they probably had that tech and were using it for decades, right? So
Yeah.
if they could do that then, I'm sure that they've improved the technology where they can grow them. And then remember that sign from the World's Fair, the incubators, where it says they can grow what is it, a full size baby in a week, or what is it, a week or something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's bizarre. Isn't it? So, and like you said, once the technology is out there in the public domain, then they must have been playing around with it for some time.
Mm,
They're
yep.
not just going to put it out there when it's ready. I think we get things, maybe maybe we're talking hundreds of years after they've finished playing with it and perfecting it.
Mm.
Who knows how far back this goes?
Wow, this could go all the way back, right? Like to end with
Yeah,
Minky and Anana.
yeah,
And that story, I think we mentioned last week that the Bible, has that verse too, right? In
mm,
the second creation story, where they take the rib from Adam and
yeah.
mold, form Eve. Is that what they say? Form her or mold her, but basically that's how you would make a clone. You would get some bone marrow out of someone, right? Tell
Yeah.
and
Kid, have you seen the Kid Buu interview? The rapper Kid
yeah,
Buu.
yeah, the one that we showed last week, yeah, where he
Yeah. So
did
yeah,
the
sorry.
second,
Yeah. So he
yeah,
says that they took a segment of bone from here.
yeah, yeah. That's right, he did, didn't he? Which was
Yeah.
he said that's where and he actually said that's where your memories are kept, didn't he? So that way, like that sounds like the clone they would produce would have the memories of the they would think they were the original person, right?
Yeah. Like, according to Donald Marshall, that what they do at night when you go into REM, they have the clone of you in these clone centers, and obviously Clonaid is one that he talks about. Um, and what happens is when you go into REM, your memory for the last 24 hours is uploaded to the clone in the center. And then the clone is used for all sorts of things.
Yes, nefarious.
Um, and if you're not towing the line, if you're not doing, you've sold your soul, you want to be famous, you've signed a contract. He states it's with the Illuminati. You've sold your soul to the devil, in theory. And the deal is that they'll do what they like to these clones, and that is selling your soul. You're actually giving you away to them for them to
Hmm.
use for all different acts of depravity. And I'm sure also they can stand in and do things for you when you're too busy. So you can literally be in two places at once. And it's
Exactly.
something about Mike Tyson there. But he says that. if you don't play ball, they will upload the memory from the clone to you while you sleep. So
Yeah.
the next day you wake up and you're battered and bruised, not physically, but you can feel it. You can't.
Yeah.
There's no visible signs of this. And he said that from all of the trauma that his clone had experienced, when he started speaking out, they were uploading the trauma to him while he slept, and he's now got a weak heart. But people have been telling me he died in 2012. He's gone, but there's someone out there posing to be him if it's not him, and
Oh,
putting information out there.
okay.
But
Donald
did you ever hear
Mike.
about the Mike Tyson one?
No, no. What's the Mike Tyson one?
That's a strange one. Someone who looked identical to Mike Tyson, even with the same facial tattoo, was accused of molesting or assaulting, sexually assaulting somebody. And it hit the papers and they thought it was Mike Tyson. But Mike Tyson was actually somewhere else. He was the other side of America with a couple of celebrities at that very moment.
A woman claims a man who looks like Mike Tyson lured her into a sexual assault. Police say the man, claiming to be the former boxer's manager, invited a woman to an after-hours club in Houston over the weekend, and that is where the victim says the look-alike sexually assaulted her. Now, the look-alike even has a tattoo similar to the one Tyson has on his own face. The real Mike Tyson heard about the investigation and shared a photo taken with fellow celebrity Jenny McCarthy. It places him in Florida when the incident in Houston took place.
And that sparked all sorts of conspiracies. And I watched the video of it. It's circulating out there still. It's a few years back. It is identical. They arrested what they believed to be Mike Tyson. And I said what rather than who.
Yeah, so they did get him, whoever it was.
Yeah, yeah, and it wasn't Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was somewhere else, and he actually put a statement out there saying, "This isn't me. Here I am on that particular evening at that exact time with these people."
Yeah.
He was somewhere like Vegas, and it happened somewhere like Florida. It was miles apart. Yeah, totally impossible. Yeah, and that one hit the headlines, but was then suppressed.
Yes, okay, of course. Did he have a lisp? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah.
Wow. So there you go, right? Could be proof, who knows? I mean, we just don't know what's going on, right? But it's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And
really?
have you heard of the Raelians?
Yes, I have. I keep hearing about that more so now than ever. People now are messaging me saying, check out the Raelians. Have you heard of the Raelians? And
so they're the ones behind Clonaid. So Clonaid, the first human cloning company in the world, was founded February 1997 by Rael. He's the leader of the Raelians and the group of investors who created the Valiant venture. Valiant, oh, makes me think of Valiant Thor.
Yes.
In the first couple of years, Clonaid has already received enormous media coverage, blah, blah, blah. And so this is...
And they're a religion based on UFOs, aren't they?
UFOs, yeah.
They're French, I believe.
They are French. That's correct. Rael, sometimes referred to as Maitreya Rael or simply Rael, is a French journalist who founded and leads the Raelian movement, an international UFO religion. Before becoming a religious leader, Rael, then known as Claude Vorholm, worked as a sports car journalist and tester.
Now, you wouldn't have put that together, would you? This is over here like Jeremy Clarkson suddenly starting his own religion.
Yeah, exactly right. So, and I guess that they believe that all of us, was it first populated by aliens, and that they came here and cloned themselves. So it's a similar kind of story.
Yeah, it's very similar
story to the Enki, right? The Sumerians.
Yeah, it's the Anunnaki story, isn't it? It seems to appear everywhere.
Yeah, but they've done it. I remember them saying that I've actually interviewed them on 60 Minutes in Australia years ago, and they were saying, "Yep, we're going to clone the world's first person. We're going to do it," right? And they did it. 2002, right? So there's a 23-year-old
2002, yeah,
walking around somewhere called Eve, and who knows what else they've done. So now they've started a business, and you can go and clone your dead grandparents or the child you lost. Pretty weird, but then you have to raise them. So that's the weird thing. But clearly, with the celebrities and you know, like what's that guy, Kid Boo? Is that his name?
Yeah, yeah,
Like his clone, if his story is true, was clearly the same age as him, right? It would have been
yeah,
grown as a full adult, the same as him, rather than a baby and then, you know, let grow.
yeah. I put a post up yesterday of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. It was at a premiere. They'd just filmed. What is it? Bad Boys, I
Yeah,
think was their franchise, wasn't it?
yeah.
And it's a premiere of one of the films. Martin Lawrence. If you just look at Martin Lawrence, he looks like either he's got concussion or he's infantile. And I put the clip up on Facebook. I couldn't find the original source where it came from. I just saw it in amongst something else. And it was a channel called Bridgewater something on YouTube. Someone recommended it in the comments from the last podcast we did. And I checked it out. Bridgewater something is the channel. So I had a look and I delved through some more of their archives and looked at a few different videos he'd put up on cloning. And there was this one of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. You can see Will Smith is the handler. Will Smith is taking control. Martin Lawrence hardly speaks and he doesn't know. You can see he doesn't know what he's doing. And that to me, I instantly saw this sort of quite naive, childlike adult, fully grown adult. And Will Smith's doing all these symbols and and he's all this. But Martin Lawrence is just stood there doing that. I mean, if it's peace, he's got his fingers around the wrong way. He doesn't know what to do with his hands. He hardly speaks. Will Smith then overcompensates by saying things like, yeah, Martin wanted us this time to take things nice and slow and just enjoy a slower pace. And he's sort of talking as if Martin is coming across the way he is because he just wants to take things easy. You can see that isn't the case. He doesn't say really anything at all. And he's just stood there bewildered. He doesn't know what's going on. There was also a really interesting clip I saw years ago of Hillary Clinton. She came out of a talk and as she exits the building, there are people waiting to speak to her. And it's a lady says to her something, quite a sensible political question. And she says something like, "Have you tried the iced tea, or have you tried the char latte?" And then her head starts wobbling, and it had nothing to do with it. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen the head bobble bit. I don't think I heard it. But yeah, when she just looks like she's
she doesn't look like she knows. Yeah, so I think that they must be quite infantile. That these are fully grown.
In every way, and I was very proud to have
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
A while to program them or something. Yeah, and you also see them freeze and do weird things.
Yeah, I've seen Lady Gaga do that.
Famous Katy Perry, where her eye does some weird thing.
Yes.
There's a few people. There was some lady on the news who just froze for like 5 or 10 seconds, and you see that's happened more than once where people just freeze, right?
Yeah.
So I mean that sort of, I guess, is another question, right? Are they like, why would a clone freeze? Is it a clone or is it some kind of android, right?
Yes, that's very true. The explanation I read, and this is years ago. This is over 5 years ago. I read an explanation for that, and they said that it is uploading.
Yeah. Oh, so it could be, I guess. Yeah, could be a clone that they're somehow uploading.
Yeah.
Photo. I mean, Mr. Musk has already said he's got the brain implant, the neural link.
Oh,
They've probably had it around for decades again, right? So maybe they can just insert them and then they can program them. I don't know, right?
I got asked a couple of days ago, would I have that done?
Oh,
So, American guy I speak to sometimes, and he just sent me a message, and that's all it was. He was talking about the implant, and he said, "Would you have it done?" He said he would, and I replied saying, "No, absolutely not," because one, it's something I don't think anybody should be doing. I mean, that it's just to me, it's not right. But secondly, where is that information being shared and stored? What do they do with that? I mean, is this capturing all of your thoughts? Do we then,
exactly, man.
moments away from the thought police breaking the door down and saying, you thought about robbing a bank
Hmm.
last night while you were dreaming?
Well,
We're arresting you before it takes place.
anyone who would even consider it is clearly not paying attention. Look at
No.
all the biggest, internet, tech companies and the social media. They're all harvesting our bloody information without telling us. They're selling it on. They're using it to market things to us. And I mean, what happens if you get a virus?
Mm.
Because it's a computer that's attached to your brain. Like what? Like that's just insane. Like there's no way.
Yeah. But they do turn you off and on again.
I mean, and I also think that we've already got all these superpowers. We just need to learn how to use them, right? It's that, and that's why they suppress us so much, so that we don't have them. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, let us know, guys. Would you get a neural link in your brain?
Yeah.
Would you trust Elon?
And do we
I
need
think
one?
they've
It's
done one, haven't they? I think a couple of people have already got them, but they're starting with like paraplegics and quadriplegics, I think, because then they can say, oh, it's all about, again, it's all for you, it's all to help you, it's all medical miracles, like why would you trust anything medical at this point in time after what we've been through, right?
I know. And that's the scary thing, isn't it? I was talking to someone the other day about this, and I'm digressing slightly, but it was actually Richard Vobes, the podcaster over here, and he said that when scarlet fever was a thing, that they introduced the vaccine for scarlet fever. Scarlet fever, the vaccine for that caused polio. The polio vaccine caused autism, and these things weren't around before. And he concluded that there wasn't a single vaccine out there that actually had a genuine purpose to help. They all had an underlying, an ulterior motive. They were to trigger something else, and that these outbreaks are caused, that they're put out there. This is sort of bio warfare, and they're harming us, constantly harming us, and culling the population with different outbreaks and viruses and pandemics. And then they give us a cure, but the cure comes with a sting in the tail, and that it actually causes a slower, more dragged out death or something later on,
The cure,
pops up.
the cure is the cause, as far as I'm concerned, for everything medical. Happens all the time. People go in totally healthy, and the doctor tells them they've got some disease, and then as soon as they start to believe it, man, these people go downhill. Then they start getting on the pills and the drugs, and before you know it, they're in bloody bed and all their hair's falling out, and like
Yeah,
it happens all the time to healthy people, right?
yeah,
And they get healthy people, they cut out appendix and tonsils and cut boobs off and all this stuff, right? All preventative,
mm,
but they don't actually heal anything. They just
no,
cut it out and then feed you their drugs, which are full of effects, right? Because side effects don't exist. They're just effects with the word side in front of them.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. And is it possible that when you look at a packet of cigarettes or a packet of tobacco, that
Yes,
looking at the health warning, it's telling your
totally.
mind that you are going to become ill?
Yeah, yeah. In
It,
Australia, when they did it, they introduced, and this was just the text warnings. We get all these photos now of bloody,
yeah,
all the really gross stuff. But when they did that, yeah, within 6 months, um, like smoking related illness went up. I can't
yeah,
remember the exact percentage, but it was quite significant because yeah, people are then looking at it every day going, this is bad for me. This is going to give me lung cancer. This is bad for my unborn child. This is whatever, right? And it's just programming. Because, we all know, right? Back in the probably our grandparents' generation, most people smoked. They smoked all the time. They lived long time. They didn't get any smoking diseases. I mean, I think the chemicals is part of it, but they didn't. No one was telling them it was going to kill them and it was bad for them, right? As soon as they announced smoking's bad, it's going to kill, like smoking disease, like it was suddenly a big thing, right?
Yeah, and I think it's true with medication as well. That I've read this in several places. That's actually a big part of the process when you're prescribed a form of medication. That a big part of that is you accepting, your mind accepting that it's going to work.
Yeah,
it's almost sort of 50-50. The placebo effect. Yeah.
Totally.
And I know this is sort of completely off, but sort of completely digressing now. But my dad worked with someone, and they used to go swimming. This was his boss, and they used to go swimming. And this man was a fitness fanatic, and he tried to encourage my dad to keep fit, healthy body, healthy mind. And he was my dad's mentor for years. And my dad noticed him starting to develop a tumor under his arm. And over a period of about a year, it was getting bigger and bigger in his armpit. And he said to him, "That looks like that could be a tumor, that looks like it could be cancer." And the whole way through, he kept saying, "Bollocks. It's not. I haven't got cancer." Even when he was diagnosed with cancer, he told the doctor it wasn't, that they'd made a mistake. And they operated, removed it, and they said to him, "You should have died. And the only reason you're still here is your pig ignorance."
Nice.
You would not accept it was cancer. No matter what we showed you and told you, you would not accept it. And that is the only reason you're still walking around. That stayed with me. It's quite profound.
This is the whole thing about doctors telling people that they have cancer and to healthy people, right? And they'll say, "But, this is going to kill you." And as soon as a person believes that, they go downhill.
Yeah.
As soon as you like same, as soon as you believe it's cancer, as soon as you believe whatever, because it's mind, right? And
you give up.
The placebo effect, like they've known about that. When was that experiment, or sort of the experiment? That was back in the 50s or 60s. That they proved back then that your mind can cure disease. And look what we've done since then. Like they've just more and more drugs and pharmaceuticals and, just poo-pooing all the alternative, kind of therapies. It's crazy, but I totally believe that we create disease, right? And we cure it. It's not doctors. Doctors have never cured anything.
No.
They
give you something to address the symptoms, don't they? They don't actually cure.
Never go for the cause, man. So
how old are your grandparents? I'm guessing your grandparents aren't still around. Do you have any?
But my grandparents were gone when I was young.
How do you know how old they lived?
Well, actually, my dad's dad lived till 95, but he was in New Zealand.
Wow.
So I didn't really know him. But my mum's parents were in their 60s, but they died in a car accident.
Oh, right. Okay. I just wondered because people are often saying that how far we've come with medicine, and that people live a lot longer now. But I go around cemeteries and graveyards all the time because I'm always looking for dates.
Totally. Yeah.
And I don't see, apart from the ones, you get the odd one that died young and quite a few that died in war.
In wars,
But I see the same ages. I don't see that.
Me too, man. I mean, I remember when I was first looking back into all the sort of Greek philosophers and stuff, and I realized most of those lived into their 90s.
Yeah.
And this was thousands of years ago, apparently. And they tell us, oh, no, back then, people lived till they were 40, right? And they tell us they were really small. No, they were all 5 foot tall and only lived to 40. And when you start looking back, you're like, that's just utter.
Yeah, it's just not true.
It's crap. It's just not true at all. But that's more of the programming, right? Because I would say at the moment, what I think the average age is 70. I think that's probably lower than it's been in the past. But but they tell us, oh no, it was 40 in the past. So look how good medicine is. We're extending your life.
Yeah,
Look how good your life is. We can keep you alive. Yay, yay. You know, in a hospital bed where you can't live. But it's, and this is the thing, that's the same kind of, um, what people that are pushing all this tech, all this cloning tech, all this stuff. And it's just all unnatural, right? Which is the biggest thing. Like we've got nature, which provides everything. Like we've really got everything we need in our bodies anyway. And all they do is stuff things up and make people sick. And people still believe them. It's just I don't understand it. It's not.
yeah. But, sometimes when I've been to over the years been to the doctors, and more recently having to take my wife for physio because she broke her foot last year, and I don't know if I mentioned this before. There was a big sign up, and it said in the doctor's surgery in the waiting area, "Get your winter flu jab. It financially supports
Oh,
this surgery."
yeah, yeah, totally, man. Like
I thought, wait,
there's sales agents
yeah,
for pharmaceutical companies who literally go into doctors' offices and sell them drugs, and they're like, "Well, if you sell so many of these, you can get a free holiday at the end of the year, or you'll get a whatever." Like they literally go and bribe them. So when you're getting stuff, it's even though it's all bad, you might not even be getting the least bad for you, right? Like that they'll just give you something with the biggest side effects, so they get their free holiday or their free car or whatever. So it's completely corrupted, man. It's the whole thing is just, you know, we know what it's like, but I think it's falling. Um, but so who were we talking about before? This is
yes, we were talking about. Well, what are we talking about? The president now
yes,
of
yes.
Argentina.
There we
Yeah.
go. So the
Now,
five clones in Argentina's election. Javier Milei
yeah,
will
yeah,
soon be Argentina's next president, which he is now. Is he? He credits his
he is.
clone for so these are all cloned all cloned dogs.
They are. Yeah, they're cloned from. They're English Mastiffs, and they're cloned upon based upon a dog he had called Conan. And when Conan died, he had five made, $100,000 each, I believe he paid. But
Wow.
look at him. What do you think about
I
him?
was looking at him, man. He looks like the clone that, got rejected from the factory a bit. Look at that face. He also looks familiar. I don't know who he looks like though, but he does look familiar for some reason.
He does. Yeah. No, I don't know who, but
It,
it, let's have a look. What is it? Am I maybe seeing like somebody else? That there's somebody else there, isn't there? I'm sure someone told me he was related to old Justin, the Canadian Prime
oh
Minister,
yeah,
and Trudeau, and
Weirdo.
there was something to do with maybe Fidel Castro,
Yeah,
Che Guevara, something. It was something like that. That they were, or maybe it was Castro, that they were somehow related.
yeah, right. Well, yeah. Justin Castro, the leader of Canada, there,
He
right?
doesn't look right, does he?
No, he doesn't. Um, so basically, yeah, it says he in front of he thanked. Oh, so one of them's called Conan. He's renamed Conan. Conan, Murray,
Mm.
Milton, Robert, and Lucas. They're his dogs. Um,
Strange names, aren't they?
they are.
For someone from Argentina. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
looking at
not
Milton and Robert
Spanish.
Murray, Lucas,
Yeah, I think they'd be
they
like Jose and Pablo
exactly.
and Jesus and
Yeah, Conan is the odd one out, and the other ones they're quite
they're like,
English names, aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah, they're like British names, definitely, man.
Mm.
Murray and Milton. Oh my God, I know it's pretty bad. Mr. Malay, yeah, made them from his original dog Conan, named obviously after Arnie. That's pretty much all it says. He made the clone dogs symbols of his libertarian ideals. Naming four of them. Oh, here you go. Naming four of them for three conservative American economists.
Right.
At his rallies, blah blah blah. Oh my God, he's got a chainsaw. Interesting
And
guy.
I wonder why you would name them. after what did you say? American
Yeah,
economists,
yeah,
American.
economists.
What? Why?
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. Maybe he got money given to him. I don't know. But yeah, $1,200 a dog. I know that can't be right. For $1,200, sent samples of Kona's tissues. Who used that tissue to grow full cells. No, it can't be $1,200.
No, I read it was 100,000 he paid.
Yeah, well, at the
But
moment,
depends where you go, doesn't it? You're going to get a different answer depending on what search engine or website you go on to.
well, that's it. But I heard 50 grand. Okay, yeah, cloning a dog typically
Yeah,
costs around. And how's that, right? You do a search in Google. Oh yeah, you can clone a dog, just 50 grand. So this stuff's out there.
yeah,
Right? So anyone who sort of thinks that cloning isn't happening, there's the proof, right? It is humans and animals. And if it's happening now, the only question is on what kind of a scale, as far as these celebs and stuff, and how long, like how far back does this go? Are we going back to the 1800s or even possibly to resets before that? Like we just don't know, do we? All the stories
no, we don't.
kind of say we came from somewhere else. And that's another thing. We don't know where we came from. All we've got is this dumb bloody theory of evolution, right? That we came from, a mutated frog that had sex with a mutated rat or something, and the monkey popped out, and then magically two monkeys both had the same mutation at the same time, lived close enough, became mates, had babies, so that they could pass it on. Because if you have a mutation, right, which is the theory of evolution, like you're not going to necessarily pass it on to kids, right? Or you're not even going to be necessarily fertile or anything. And so you'd need two parents both with the same mutation, right, to actually get, like a solid individual that carries that trait.
Yes, yes, you would. Yeah, I believe that's the same with blue eyes. That both parents have to carry that particular gene, even though
Yeah,
it might not be
yeah,
present in them. They have to carry that gene.
yeah. It's recessive, but
It is recessive. Yeah,
but they have to have it. Yeah, yes,
yeah.
exactly. So two recessives and you get blue eyes. So I don't know what happens with my eyes change color, so I don't know what's going on with them.
Do they?
Yeah, they depending on what I'm wearing, they'll go from like gray to dark blue to light blue to green, almost down through to hazel. They just
Have you looked into that? Is that a thing?
I've looked a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely people. Yeah, I'm not the only weirdo. There's definitely, yeah, it's a thing that happens to other people. I don't know why. I think the only explanation I've found is that it's something back in our ancestors' DNA. For hiding in the bushes or something. Because I think they sort of talk that like chameleons who change their color of their skin for camouflage. That we change our eye color, which makes no sense at all. So that it's just one of these weird things, like because we don't know. I mean, and blood types, right? Like the whole Rh negative. I mean,
Yes. Now that's a big thing.
what
That
does that prove? That proves that we're at least not all from the same place. Is that maybe the marker that whoever's Rh negative are either the clones or not the clones, right? Is that maybe the marker of that sort of will tell us who they
oh, that's good, Campbell. That's good. I hadn't thought of that. Is that it?
is that
It's
it?
funny. When I first met my mother-in-law, she's just a regular person. She's not into conspiracy theories really. Just a regular person, nearly 80 now. When I first met her, she said to me that she had Atlantean blood.
Oh yes, I think you told me this. Yeah, yeah.
Where did she get that from? Now, this isn't someone who was, and this was early 90s.
Mm.
This isn't someone who's surfing the net. She wasn't reading books on David Icke about reptilians. And this is something that she said she had been told,
Yeah, yeah. It must have been
like
passed down
growing up.
through families. Yeah, yeah. Which is, yeah, I don't know, like because then we get that. I mean, I haven't really delved in, but I've seen a few narratives where they say there's Atlantis and then there's Mu or Lemuria,
Yeah,
and that they were different peoples. And sort of after the flood, we all kind of mixed. So I've heard that the Lemurians were more of the darker people and the Atlanteans were more of the whiter people. And that could, I don't know, right? Is that the blood? Because this bloodline, why isn't that a bigger topic? Like that's crazy, right? They literally tell you, no, RH is rhesus monkey, right? Which basically in their
yes,
terminology says that everyone, evolved from this little rhesus monkey. So we all have this gene or part of our blood or whatever. But then there's people who don't have any trace of that lineage at all in their genetic makeup, yet they look just like us, and you couldn't tell them
yeah.
apart from us. Like, how does that even make any sense?
Have you heard of someone called Kelly Harding?
No.
She's put a few podcasts out there. She's been interviewed a few times. She's actually quite well researched on the whole Cabbage Patch thing.
Right.
And she delves into cabotage, which is admiralty or maritime law. And that cabbage, the reason you see it on these postcards is because it actually relates to the movement of the trafficking of items and people from one country to another by land, by sea or by air. And that's why on these postcards, the Cabbage Patch postcards, you often see them in trains being fished out of the water and so on. It's cabotage. Well, she said that she said a couple of things. I was talking to her Friday night. She's in Seattle, and I was just having a chat with her, and she said that. Did you know? First of all, did you know that the pig is closer related to the monkey than we are?
Yes. Yeah, and I've also heard I've heard that it's the closest animal genetically that we're related to, because they use pig skin and stuff for skin grafts.
Yeah, and the organs.
For the organs, they've actually given people pig hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're more closely related to an ape or a monkey than we are, what does that say about us? Because I grew up thinking that, or being told that I was a cousin of an ape, that it was an ape that evolved into a human as we know them. If we follow Darwin's theory of evolution, it's what we were taught at school. Well, where does the pig fall into this? Because if a pig's more closely related, it shares more with an ape or a monkey than we do. Well, how does that work?
And we're more closely related to the pig than we are to the monkey. It seems like, right? Because I mean, I haven't researched that. Let me know in the comments am I right or wrong. But I mean, because they're using pigs, right? I mean, obviously we don't farm monkeys, and we've probably got a lot more pigs, but it's a very weird link, right? Because we kind of, we have the two arms and the legs like the monkey, but we don't seem to have a lot like pigs, apart from maybe the color of, some of our skin.
Yeah, and they obviously, I've seen this. I'm sure everybody watching this will have seen it, but they will roll themselves in mud so they don't burn in the sun.
Yeah, yes.
So it's a little bit like they, and me in particular, both suffer when, from exposure, long periods of exposure to direct sunlight. They suffer and I suffer. And I've had this argument with a few people. If we've evolved, then, and knowing how important the sun is to us, why would we evolve to a point where we burn and can
I've heard these
get skin cancer,
as something that we're not native to this environment. Why would the sun burn us?
That doesn't sound like evolution, like Darwin saying that you adapt to meet your environment. Well, I haven't. Pigs haven't. And the Bible tells you not to eat them, doesn't it? The Bible,
I was about to say it, and it's not just the Bible. That there's quite a few traditions that say don't eat pork, don't eat pigs.
Yeah.
There's even that story.
The only animal with hoofs that eats meat.
The devils, which are actually parasites, out of a man, and he sent them into pigs. Is that because they're similar to us, right? And you could send them into them because they have the same right guts or whatever. I mean, it's a weird. I mean, maybe we need to make a new, that little evolution guide has got,
rewrite it.
To put a pig in the middle there somewhere.
Piggy in the middle.
Monkeys, then into pigs, and then into humans.
Yeah, pig in the middle. Piggy in the middle. It's a thing. But yeah, and it, like Kelly was saying to me, if you look at all of the animals, all the hoofed animals out there, the pig is the only one that eats meat.
Really? Yeah, right.
It's also yeah. And if you look at cows and so on, the pig has one stomach where a cow has four.
Yeah.
So what is it exactly? So I'm going to put this out there. My guess is that was a failed attempt at making us.
The pig came out wrong. Jeez, could be. I mean, it could be, because then we have this other weird anomaly that, that they go through all this explanation of how, we evolved and it was so miraculous and all these billions of mutations and it ended up as human. And then we find out there's Neanderthals, there's Denisovans, and there's like 4 or 5 different hominid groups, right? That are all different, different makeups, heights, builds, all this kind of stuff. Like
and still the missing link.
And still the missing link. There is no link at all. I mean, they don't even have. They kind of try and give us this illusion that they've got so many bones, of pre-humans. That they've got nothing, man. Like literally, what they've got of pre-humans would fit into like a small suitcase, like a little small box, basically. And Lucy, famous Lucy, right, who they tried to say was the missing link. I think they had, what did they have from her? A couple of ribs and a bit of a jawbone, a bit of a skull. Those bones were found in over like a 2 or 3 kilometer area.
Exactly. So what are we talking about there?
A whole skeleton. I mean, it's just, evolutions doesn't work. It's like have you seen the evolution sign? Like someone's done it and you have like the monkey and they get bigger. And then
you have the stages.
And then it's humans, the intervention theory. But I mean, I don't know, right? It could be tried. It's one of those things, you don't really want to believe that, oh my God, we're just the creation of some crazy other being. But, it looks that way, right? The fused chromosome we've got,
Yeah. And that's proven. That's you can't argue a fact. And this is something that I, end up sort of banging my head against a wall with. You can't argue a fact. No. That's fused. They know it's fused. Who did that?
Who did that? And how come we've now got 23 pairs of chromosomes? Apes have 24, but we're much more evolved, right? We're smarter and much more, bigger brains and all. Like, how does that work? So, I mean, the genetic, we've been messed with somewhere. It's in our
we have
in our DNA. Like, the question is who, I guess, and where. I mean, because from my perspective, there's no space aliens. There's no Nibiru or some planet with there could be outer lands, but I don't believe in space. So
no, I don't. I'm with you. I'm outer lands. Absolutely.
Or could it be maybe, there's a lot of talk about underground civilizations, even maybe
Agartha,
Agartha, all these places, like, and every account of that is they're bigger and stronger than us and smarter and, more evolved and all this. So did they create us? And I don't know, man. The gods, right? But and it tells us, in all our books that we were created. And I guess at some point you have to be, even if it's, I don't know, by the great spirit, the creator. That's something we don't know a lot about, but we do know a lot about cloning, right? And we can actually create people now. So is this what's happened in the past, that someone's just got to the same level that we are and decided maybe they wanted to sit in their palaces all day, didn't want to do the work, wanted to create a worker class, they might have had a taste for gold, and so they created us. And off we go, right? We become the slaves because, I mean, look around. We're pretty much still slaves, like
We are.
as
We are.
far as the
People don't
system,
realize that.
just to live in this system, we have to pay. We have to
Yeah.
pay to live on Earth, right?
Yeah.
You can't just go and get
But
a block of land and start building a house on it.
look at someone wearing a shirt and tie, wearing a suit to work. I mean, look at the shirt. It's
Yeah,
collars and a
collars,
cuff.
cuffs, and
Yeah, and
tie.
yeah, yeah, and they don't see it, but there's symbology there.
Mm.
That's symbolism, isn't it? They are actually in plain sight showing us that you are a slave. You're a debt
Yeah,
slave.
yeah. Still wearing your collars and cuffs, and now you're putting it on yourself, and you're coming to jail every day to do what you're told, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty weird.
yeah. So I think that goes back to the very start. So we are created in their image, but not as intelligent as them, and definitely with a much shorter lifespan to mine gold and do other things. And again, then to populate, you know, to the extent that they did, um, that couldn't have been a 9-month process. I mean, they couldn't have waited until they got the first male and female versions of us, and then they produce naturally, because that would have taken, you know, years and years and years to build up a workforce to go down the mine. So this must have been a production, a mass production.
Yeah, yeah. You would think so. Like on scale, like I've got a couple of pictures here somewhere, and then this again, this is what they've got today. Like they've literally got baby farms, I guess you would call them. This is ecto-life, artificial wombs.
Yeah, I've been seeing this recently.
There's that. There's this, obviously just a graphic, but you know these dudes are doing like, how does pet cloning work, right? Some Google, right? It tells you, right? Like this is technology, right? And this is, I don't think this is an actual photo, but there is one. I couldn't find it today, but there's an actual photo of all these. There you go, Clonaid, right? Of these things, Dolly the sheep, right? So it's not even a very complicated process when you just look at that thing, right? It's probably pretty easy if you're a scientist. And here's the dude, Rael. He's the dude from the Raelians. So it's interesting, right? We've already got this tech. People are already doing it. They've been doing it in the past. We see all these weird things, these doppelgangers, these celebs that look the same, and people still say, "Oh my God, you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, what are you doing? You're way out there." It's like,
They don't realize I don't think people understand what conspiracy means. And, you know, it's we are looking into the powers that be, the parasites, the elite, whatever you want to call them, the Anunnaki, conspiring against us.
exactly, exactly. I mean, do you know what a conspiracy, or how would conspiracy theories different from the truth? Oh, that's how I said that.
I know what you're going to say.
Said that wrong, haven't I?
What's
What's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth?
About 6 months?
A couple of weeks, yeah.
Oh, a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's probably getting faster and faster all the time.
Might have been
So is it possible then that the Cabbage Patch Babies, these postcards, were cloning to repopulate after Tartaria?
Yeah, it could. I mean, I don't think either of us think they were growing in cabbages, but yeah, symbolically.
No, symbolically, yeah.
What you said about the cabotage, was it?
Yeah, cabotage law.
That means to
Yeah.
transport things around. I mean, that's pretty interesting, right? Is that how they came up with the term cabbage patch, and is that why they use that kind of imagery for their basically showing us that they were just shipping these babies around the world, right? And to them, it's the inside joke, haha, cabbage, and to the people who were just getting reintroduced and re-educated, they believed it, because people used to say it, and then the stork, right? How did I get here? Well, you're delivered by the stork, or we found you in the cabbage patch, So I think that's a good link. I think that there's, because Admiralty law would have had that's part of the new system, right? That would have been being introduced around the same time. you know, and
Yes,
then
it was. It
they're
was.
using the ships to ship everyone around under their laws. So,
Yeah. Quite a few things happened after after I believe the reset was 1776, and that they put that on the back of the American dollar bill, so it's in plain sight. New World Order 1776 on the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill.
yeah.
And you've then got the maritime law, you've got
Mm.
the Lunacy Act, prisons and orphanages slowly start to open. But where did all these babies come from? That's my question. If they were trafficking, and that is cabotage, to actually transport, where did they come from?
Come from somewhere. So I think, you know, the simplest explanation from what we've seen is that they were cloned, because, you know, they came out of nowhere. It was after a reset. There was nothing else around. There was all this, you know, sort of devastation. And then we get these pictures of adults with babies, and they don't look like they know what a baby is.
No, they don't. The Alice Guy movies, Alice Guy,
Yeah.
the pioneering.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cabbage Fairy. There's the second one is Midwife to the Upper Classes. They don't look like they know how to handle them. I mean, she's picking them up by their limbs and just placing them on the floor. Yeah.
Around, right? Like she doesn't know what they are. It's the craziest thing.
And you don't see many babies and children in old world photos either.
No. You know, and they give us this story, well, children are, you know, not seen or heard, you know, they're in the background. But I mean, really,
They've got to be somewhere.
Your parents still love their children. There would be photos of children, but yeah, you don't get a lot of them unless it's just the children and no parents, right? Or the children and one dude in a top hat.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution. I mean,
working.
If you look at the Industrial Revolution, that is just a mass of photographs and images out there depicting children working in mills, down mines, and then of course you got miner.
See, that confused me, man. When my dad was in mining, and I used to live in this little mining town, and I must have been like 6 or something when we left. But I remember the pub, and you know, it was a drink, you know, mining town, a big drinking, and they had this sign, "No miners allowed," and that confused the crap out of me. I'm like, but it's full of miners. Like, what's going on here? But yeah, miner, right?
Is that because children were doing the mining?
Children were miners.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is all in plain sight, and it's a play on words, isn't it? And this is what Kelly Harding was saying, that they've constantly used words that we put into everyday use for a different reason. We're using these words; they actually mean something else.
Totally, man. It's spell casting, right? It's like
think of
the word whole. Like, it's the best example. Like, you've got HOLE, right? The absence of anything, right? WHOLE, everything. Completely, the complete polar opposite in meaning, but it's the same word. And the thing about words is, words are phonetic, right? Like, words it's what they sound like, that's a spell. So just because they put a W there that you ignore doesn't mean it's the same frequency, right? The same tune, the same spell. So spelling.
Yeah.
First thing they teach you in school.
Yeah. How to cast a spell.
Yeah. And then we have, of course, news readers, you know, who do broadcasts. We have people who make movies, and you know, all the actors are called a cast.
Yeah.
Of course, they're made in Hollywood. The wood of the holly tree, which is what they made wands from, apparently. Like, it's all there.
It is all there. Yeah. And then we put the TV on and we're programmed.
The program, yeah. What program am I going to watch today? I mean,
Acts of Parliament. You're thinking it's an act. The whole, you know, and was it Shakespeare who said the whole world is a play, or the whole world is
stage?
Yeah, it's a stage. Sorry, yeah. And it's true, and it's in plain sight. And I think that they're following sort of karma or universal law, where they're having to tell us, so when they meet their maker, they can say, well, we told them everything, we didn't lie, we put it all out there, they just didn't believe it. They thought it was science fiction.
Yeah.
And all the films about cloning, The Boys from Brazil, I mean, that's a good one, where they try to clone Hitler. Sorry, the
I've seen that.
Chancellor.
Yes,
The Boys from Brazil.
Chancellor.
It's an old one.
Yeah,
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 it is
yeah.
an
It's an
old
old
one.
one. I know of it, and people have always told me it's a good movie, but I don't think I've ever actually watched it. I'll have to have a look for it.
There's The Island as well, which they did a remake of. It's quite an old film. They did a remake with Ewan McGregor. But
Was that the
those
same
films are out
one?
there.
It must be a different one. Remember Leonardo DiCaprio? Didn't he do The Island? Or was it? Because
No,
people
are
have
you
told me
thinking of
this.
Shutter Island? Shutter Island's
It's something else Island, is it?
Shutter Island is where he's actually completely insane and thinks he's still an FBI agent and he's actually in an asylum. That's Shutter Island
Oh,
with Leonardo,
there
who's
was one where
another
he was actually
anomaly.
on an island. I can't remember.
Leonardo DiCaprio's never aged.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? I know. Just like his girlfriends, apparently.
Yeah, that's under. Yeah.
But I mean,
So
have you seen that photo of him where he's got actually, that's an interesting. Have you seen the photo of Leonardo as a child and he's holding a baby in a jar? I'm pretty sure it is.
no, I haven't.
You haven't
I'm
seen
going to
that?
have to go look for that now, aren't I? I was told the other day to
Yeah,
check
yeah.
out Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter, Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
There's something going on there. Apparently, he's been cloned.
Ah,
Apparently, he's long gone.
yeah, right. Wow. Well, that's another thing, is this replacement thing. Like, what do they replace actors when they die? Like the Beatles, right? That's kind of where it started, right? Apparently, the story is the original Paul died in a car crash, and
Yeah.
they were making so much money that they just grabbed someone else, right, and replaced him.
Yeah. And this happened with Michael Jackson. He gets burnt in the Pepsi commercial. Oh, Christ. No, I've not seen that. He's a bit young to be smoking a big Cuban, isn't he?
He looks like he's only 16 or something there, and I think there's probably better pictures, but everyone says that that's a baby.
Jesus.
Like crazy, right? And this is the thing, all these, you got to
I mean, look at him there. That the image on the left of him. I mean, he does. There was one. He doesn't look like he's aged. Not really. I mean, not like.
No.
I mean, not certainly not like the rest of us. Oh, there's
Tom
one over there in a
Cruise,
jar on the far
Tom
left.
Cruise.
Tom Cruise is another good example.
That dude's in his mid-60s at least.
Yeah.
And
now, is this?
40.
Are we now sort of verging towards adrenochrome?
Oh, are we even allowed to say that? We might have to say Google Chrome. Well, yeah, this is the thing. It's just so far-reaching, yeah, is it some kind of gene therapy, extended life, or are they extending it with certain substances? And this is where it all goes down the whole sort of satanic rabbit hole, right? And I guess, you can bring that back to, the Bible, and it's probably in other spiritual books where where it basically says that, God's the creator, he creates man, and anything else that's created is an abomination. And these people, we know what kind of rituals and stuff they get up to, and they seem to be the ones that could be behind, creating clones, which are, at least in Christians' eyes, are abominations, which is
with
devil worship, so that kind of fits in as well, right?
With the rituals that go on apparently in these underground bases. I've read several times that there are cloning centers in all of these DUMBs. All of these DUMBs have a floor where they actually clone there, and that celebrities, powerful people, world leaders, they all meet there on a very regular basis. So they can actually, the clones meet there. It's not them. The clones meet so they can discuss, world affairs without actually having to physically travel there, and that it's their clones that then do things with other clones, and that a sacrifice is a big part of that.
Ah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's it as well, right? And
Yeah, they say that that's why Bernie Mac had the American actor Bernie and comedian Bernie Mac had a heart attack and died because his clone had been so badly abused during one of those satanic ritual type meetings because he'd been speaking out about cloning, that his clone was attacked so badly that they uploaded the trauma to him and he died from a heart attack as a direct result, and that could have links to the whole 27 club.
Wow.
These people that all died, Amy Winehouse, Heath Ledger, all of these people that died at 27.
It's interesting, right? Because 2 and 7 is 9, and 9 is the number of completion.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing.
And incidentally, Jesus, Yeshua, and Genghis Khan's father also, whose name translated to Yeshua. That name also represents the number 9.
Oh, okay, does it? There you go, completion. Well, Jesus had it all, right? Because he apparently died at 33, which is ascension, and he was number 9, so he ascended and then got completion. It's all in the numbers, man.
Yeah. I think that he actually at 33 took ayahuasca. And it was the death of his ego, and it's just it's a metaphor. That's just what I think, and that the Christos, the fluid in your spine, 33 vertebrae, and so on. I just wonder if it's all metaphors. That was the death of his ego.
Yeah. Well, I agree that the 33 vertebrae, the chrism, the Kundalini rising, and all this kind of stuff. That's the ascension up and up into the pine. So
your little pine cone. And you see those everywhere. Right? Lots of churches and cathedrals. We see the pine cone. How did they know?
The biggest pine cone in the world is at the Vatican.
So how did they know when they built these things what that gland looked like?
Exactly. I've asked that question. How do they know it looks like a pine cone? It's interesting, and that's where the word pineal comes from.
It is, yeah.
So it's all there, but they give us these stories about these external things that you do, right? I'll just go to church. I'll just do, don't sit down and ask yourselves questions and contemplate and go inside and meditate or anything like that. Just go to church and listen to what they tell you, and then do that.
Yeah, but don't read the owner's handbook. Go somewhere where someone else reads it to you. Exactly. And I imagine the amount of people that follow. How many people that follow these religions have actually read the entire Bible or their Bible?
No.
And I imagine it's a small proportion.
It'd be tiny. It'd be tiny. Every time I meet someone who tells me they're a Christian, I ask them questions about the Bible, and I don't know if anyone's hands are known any of it. Simple stuff for me. I definitely haven't read the Bible, front to back, but I've flicked through it a few times. And that's because, you go to the church, man, and the man in the dress comes out and he tells you how you will interpret that message.
Yeah. And then we've got the flock, the sheep, and herding the sheep, and he's got his crook.
Yep, exactly right. Jesus and the sheep, not one will be lost from the flock. It's nice, right? We're just a herd.
Yeah.
We're just a herd, but they don't like to hear us. We're never heard.
No, they don't, do they? No. We've gone right off tangent here, haven't we?
We have. We're also getting to that time. We're at the hour and a bit mark. So got anything else you want to add to today's conversation?
No, but I would like to know people's thoughts on the Cabbage Patch Babies. Is what we were saying earlier on, that I said Kelly Harding had told me that about the cabotage law. Do people think that those postcards are just showing us in plain sight that they were trafficking these children around? And if so, were they all from mothers that couldn't actually raise a child, or they were in convents and they'd had the child taken away? But we're talking about an awful lot of babies. Exactly. So where do people think they came from? And you can't just really say, well, these were, in Ireland, for example, there were a lot of unmarried women that fell pregnant. But we're talking hundreds of thousands of babies that suddenly surfaced across, certainly in America.
Oh yeah.
Where do people think they came from? What are their views on that? I'd really like to know. And yeah,
let us know in the comments, guys. What are your thoughts? Like, what are we dealing with here? Where did we come from? Because that might be what we're talking about. We still don't know if there's a difference between cloned or non-cloned, but where do you think we came from, or the babies, or the reset populations? Because we see all these photos of empty cities, and suddenly kids everywhere running all the machinery, and then we get adults who don't know what kids are. So it's very strange, the whole thing.
I think what you said about the rhesus negative, the Rh negative bloodline, that's interesting. Are they the non-cloned?
Yeah, exactly. Is that the marker
that
that either we or they, or the Rh negatives are non-cloned? Let us know.
That's a good one. That's a deep one.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's a rabbit hole, man. Finding out who we are. All right, well, there we go. And of course, guys, link below, go and buy Guy's book, Tessa and the Cabbage Patch Kids. And there's a link to his his YouTube channel as well. So go and subscribe, because you actually do some readings from the book on there too. So if you want
I do, yeah. Do you know what? For the first time, I thought I'd actually show people it on here.
There it is, the book.
So yeah, but I'm currently researching the Cabbage Patch Babies and the orphan trains. Then the whole human cloning is my favourite subject. That book covers everything from Tartaria to World's Fairs, Star Thoughts, and so on. But it's this is the one that I find the most interesting, because ultimately finding this information out and being able to cross some T's and dot some I's can tell us who we are.
Exactly. And what are we told from all the great masters? Know thyself.
Very profound.
There you go. That, because I sound clever now. All right, well, that was cool, man. Thanks for that. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Give us a like, subscribe, leave us your comments. What do you think? What are your views on this and the clones and everything, and cabotage? Is that what it's called?
Cabotage law.
Cabotage law.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, man, that's a good one. I think that could, be a big piece that we'll have to look into. And let us know. Do you want us to make a part 4? If you do, we'll have a chat, see what else we can find out there to delve down this hole of what are we? Where did we come from? Right?
Yeah. Maybe we could pick apart the whole Anunnaki thing.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Anunnaki, yeah, man. Enlil and Enki.
Oh, and sorry, and before I forget, before we go, also, is it possible that sometimes they're not cloning? What if they're not cloning? What if the reason that we see these old images of people like Bruce Willis and so on, and Mark Zuckerberg looks like King Charles II of Spain, what if they're immortal? And what's the connection between that and the whole vampire thing?
Yes, and one thing I didn't mention last week, Saint Germain.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's quite a few podcasts on that. Maybe we could delve into that.
Yeah, like extended life, vampire.
Yeah, Highlander,
Saint Germain, all that kind of stuff, man. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. Well, what do they think? Yeah. What does everybody think? What should we talk about next?
So, yeah, let us know. Give us some ideas of what you want us to cover, and we shall do it. Awesome. All right, mate. Well, thanks again, and yes, we'll chat soon.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone watching. We'll see you on the next upload. So links below. Go and subscribe and buy stuff and do all that cool shit. All right.
Thanks, Campbell.
Yeah,
thanks everyone for watching.
Yes, thank you guys. Stay awesome. See you next time.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Ha!